Welcome back to a windy Exmoor day. In this video I'm going to talk about our internet. The internet is obviously a vital part of our day-to-day life now, and when we moved here we knew it would be a potential issue, but it turned out to be much worse than we had anticipated. And as I work from home, having a reasonably fast internet connection is pretty important to me. So my solution was to set up a remote internet station. Because we're in a dip where we live, we don't have 4G or even 3G, so yeah, mobile phones don't work here. Yeah, today I'm going to walk you through how I've set mine up. I had to do quite a lot of research on this to get it working, and I did consult with a specialist, but he's kind of the only person I found in the UK that is doing this, and he's in theory he's making a business from it, but I didn't find his approach that useful or good, so this is my setup. Thus far it's worked for me. I've set up for my neighbours as well. They've got a slightly different setup because they've got 4G on the roof of their house, but yeah, I'll walk you through mine and I'll talk about the adaptations that you could do according to your situation. Okay, so this is where the internet station is. Our house is behind that hedge. So yeah, where the power pole is, that's the top of the garden. So it's quite a bit higher up here, which means that we get better signal. So when I first set this up, this actually isn't our field, it's a neighbour's field. So they've kindly let us use their land, which is brilliant. When I first set this up, I had to do it as an entirely remote station. So I used a 100-watt solar panel and a leisure battery, and then the signal, the Wi-Fi, was sent down by the green box, which is at the top there, which was pointing at our house. It's a line of sight kind of transmitter, and we have a receiver on the chimney, which you can't actually see from here, but on the top of the bank you can see our chimney. So you have to line them up roughly, and then you can send them down. It was great during the summer when the days were longer, but in winter there just wasn't enough sunlight to keep the batteries charged, despite the fact that the amount of power being consumed up here was very minimal. So quite often in the evening when it's dark, and normally with horizontal rain, I'd have to bring up a spare battery that I've charged at home and change over the batteries in order for our internet to work, which naturally got pretty tiresome. I then upgraded to power, to running a power cable up here, which is in this pipe. So that pipe goes all the way through the field, and then it's buried in our garden, and it goes into the barn, which I'll show you later on. In this cable there's also a fibre cable, and the reason I did that was because the connection was really unstable and I couldn't work out what was going on. I figured that a fibre cable would be, well, more stable and possibly a faster connection than these transmitters, and I don't think I'm actually right on that. I think it's about the same, so it's not a necessity. So if you are looking to do a remote station, an entirely remote station where you can't get power or a cable to it, then that is an option. Yeah, then you can still do batteries and solar panel or a wind charger, whatever works for you. The reason I did a fibre cable was because the distance is over 100 meters. I think it's about 120 meters, and with network cable the recommendation is to do a maximum of 100 meters. So if your aerial is within 100 meters, then that will greatly reduce the cost. So you could just buy a 100-meter network cable. There's different categories, so you need to factor in how fast your internet connection is, and then get the appropriate category of network cable. I think I was looking at 6 or 7, but it's not much more to buy faster cable. So even if you're not using it to the maximum capability, you could still use it. Nice bit of sun for a change. The dog's enjoying the sun too. Okay, let's show you the inside of this. So you don't need to have 2 boxes. I just did it for cost, because the larger the box go, the higher the price, but not proportionally. So yeah, I wanted to save some money, so I just did 2 boxes. So this is the kind of the first box, if you like. So you've got the power coming in to a multi-plug. One of these is powering the router, which is in here, and the other one is powering this box, which is the fiber kind of converter. So these really skinny wires are the fiber cable, and then the white cable is going to the router. So yeah, the router is kind of making the internet, I guess, if you like, and transferring it over to the box, which then turns it down into the fiber cables and then sends it down to the barn. The router, I've got an external antenna on it because it's more powerful than the standard ones. Plus this side of the bank I don't actually get much signal, but up at the top I do. So it's a coaxial, 2 coaxial cables coming out the bottom or out the back of the router. So you can see there, 1, 2. That goes up to the caught barbed wire. That goes up to the aerial. That is up there. So the aerial is a directional antenna, which means that you need to know roughly where you're pointing it. So you can do this one of 2 ways. One is to research where the antennas are in your area. It's not very easy to do and intuitive. The other way is to literally go up there and move the antenna, adjust it. It's tiny amounts basically. Well, you start off with large amounts to find out which way is the fastest, and you have to do speed tests for each direction. Or during the test you can just slowly move it and watch this, what's happening to the speed. So as it speeds up, obviously you're getting closer to the right direction. So to fine tune it, I do the latter. So I know that the antenna I'm using is over in that direction. I start it there, and then I do really fine adjustments and do speed tests on my mobile phone at the same time to work out where the best direction is. So that's it from here really. So yeah, so if you need a totally remote station, you'd need battery, a means of charging the battery unless you want to keep walking up and down and changing it every few days, an external antenna, the router. I haven't discussed the router. The router is a 4G SIM router. So the SIM card goes in the back of it, back there somewhere, I think it's there. For network providers, the network providers are again really confusing, because you can do online, you can compare them online for your area to work out who's got the best signal, but they don't actually correlate for me anyway. So when I started with EE, or I think EE was one of the ones which I started with, and it was incredible. I was getting, I think, about 70 megabytes a second download, but they weren't listed as being the best to use. And what we found is after almost exactly after a year, was that the speed kept, well, not the speed, the connection would just drop. So it literally cut out. and stop working for just a few seconds. But enough to stop everything working, and then it would start up again later on. And what it meant was that the internet became unusable. If I was on a Zoom call, it would stop working and close the call. Streaming movies was no good. So I had to complain pretty fiercely with them in order to do it, because I had a 2-year contract. Cool, it looks like rain coming in. That's great. Dakota's got a stick. So I've tried numerous different providers, and we are currently with O2 now, which is slower but it's more stable, and I think having a stable internet connection is more worthwhile than a really unreliable fast one. Lebara is quite a good one because you can do unlimited data on a monthly contract, so that you don't have to renew, you don't have to commit to like a long period of time. You don't need to buy a SIM that is specifically for home internet. It's a marketing ploy by these companies. You can just buy a regular phone SIM. So we have unlimited data on ours. It's not actually technically unlimited because all companies, I think, well, nearly all companies have fair usage in their policies. I forget how much that is, but it's thus far it's been enough for us to get by. If you start going over the fair usage constantly, then they might question it, but that'd be pretty extraordinary use. Bearing in mind that we use ours for video calls. I run a business from home, we stream TV, all our mobile phone calls, everything goes through it, and we're not hitting the fair usage. So yeah, that's been fine. When you order a SIM, you have a 14-day cooling off period. So if you're unsure about a SIM card, what you can do is actually set up numerous contracts at once and then compare all of the SIM cards and work out which one's actually best. Yeah, it doesn't always correlate with what is said online. So that is it from this end, I think. Yeah, next we'll go down to the barn so you can see where the internet comes in. So this is where the internet ends up. Currently the power is just connected to a plug because I haven't got around to wiring it in properly, and then the internet is fed into here. So you can see the fibre cables coming in. There's another one of those boxes with the converter, so that is the fibre coming in, then that's the network cable coming out. The network cable is going into a splitter. So the splitter means that because we've got the barn and the house separate, I wanted to divide up the signal and get the best strength in the house, and also maintain decent Wi-Fi in the barn, and have a direct connection to my desktop instead of getting the max speed from it. So in the barn we've got these as Wi-Fi splitters. Wi-Fi, I don't know if they're called splitters. Well, not splitters, Wi-Fi, they're not even boosters. I should look up what they're called. They're they basically create a Wi-Fi network in the house and the barn. So we've got 2 of these out here, and we've got 3 better ones in the house that thus far work really well. So I'm not sure if you had to see, but up there on the chimney is the receiver for when it was a remote station, so before the fibre cable was put in. Now we're using the fibre cable. The Wi-Fi, so to get to the Wi-Fi to the house, I've run a network cable underground. So when we installed our new boiler, the central heating pipes come out of the barn there, and then they go under the driveway and into the box over there. So I ran a network cable through at the same time. So it comes inside into the kitchen, and then up here, and these are the boxes which we're using to spread the Wi-Fi around the house. Again, they've been really good because our house is the middle house is the original, and then each end has got an extension. It means that the walls are really thick, and so Wi-Fi doesn't penetrate very well. So we have 3 of these boxes which all link together, but then provide Wi-Fi from each of them. So we've got one in the kitchen, one in the middle room, and then one in the end room, and that works absolutely fine for us to spread the signal around the house. And it's been pretty reliable. Occasionally it's not perfect, but that's the price you pay. So that's essentially our Wi-Fi setup. It's pretty straightforward. I think each scenario has their own pros and cons, and your situation will depend on what will and won't work for you. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. I'll list some of the products which I've used below in the description so that you can get the parts yourself. It's not like I said, really not an overly complicated thing to do, so you should be able to do it yourself without having to pay for someone to come in and do it for you. And to be honest, even when you pay someone to come in and do it, they often aren't very committed to do it. Okay, so here we are with the speed test. Let's find out what it's doing. Pretty good. Clearly the wet weather is making a difference. So like I said previously, I was using EE and I was getting much faster speeds. It was up to about 70 megabytes download. But when it started playing up, I changed over for a year, and then when I tried EE again recently, it was absolutely abysmal. So have a play around with different providers and see what works for you.